the next manager, Neil Atkinson with Josh Williams, the first in an ongoing series, looking at the potential candidates for the managerial job at Liverpool. But we're not going to look at any candidate today because we're going to talk about how you do this.
How on earth you do this?
So you think from the minute it happened, you said to me, it's so hard to talk about managers in general using data because there's so many complexities. So we're going to do our first one next week on De Zerbi. So I think he's a good case study to sort of kick around a little bit here for the chat. Because last season De Zerbi he was doing ever so well. He's now on a run of only winning 4 in 17 league games. There's loads of mitigating circumstances. So when Liverpool will be doing this, there are people at Liverpool much smarter than us with better facilities doing this, but let's do our best. But what is it that you think they're looking for when they're beginning to work this out?
Well, this is what's difficult. Like I think isolating the impact of the manager is very, very difficult. I think Ian Graham, Liverpool's recent, he was a director of research for about a decade at Liverpool. He's recently left. He said identifying the managerial impact of a coach is the holy grail of analytics, and that's because it's really hard to do. Because if you're looking at a team, looking at the performances and things like that, how much of it is determined by the players who kick the ball, and the manager doesn't actually kick the ball at any point.
No.
So, and it's not like any other sport really where the manager can call timeouts and like that. He gets 15 minutes with his players in the middle of the game. But either side of that, you've got 45 minutes either side of that where the player takes his own decisions. It's a really difficult sport to identify the impact of a manager. So I think the overall goal of an analytics department would be to kind of determine what you expect from a group of players in terms of, expected goal difference and in terms of a points tally over the course of a season. And then look at what the coach delivers in comparison to that. Is he underperforming? Is he over-delivering?
Is there a budgetary element to that as well? I.e., what is the wage budget? Because you can have that conversation. It's skewed mad things like what is the wage budget? Because I suspect at the minute Chelsea and Manchester United's wage budgets are both really, really high. And for too many years, from the point of view of those clubs, they haven't been getting results. But on the whole, there is a correlation, isn't there, between what you've been doing with the budget and what you've been getting out of it?
Yeah, definitely. But another reason in which that's probably a little bit skewed and you have to be a little bit careful about it is, I think if you look at Liverpool's squad, for me this season, Liverpool have the best squad in the Premier League. They have the most depth, and in terms of a first 11, arguably the best, up there with Manchester City in comparison for me. But in terms of the wage bill over the past couple of years, Liverpool's wage bill, I think it has climbed, to be fair, but I think it's never been like Barcelona and Man United levels wage bill, has it? But Klopp has had the players, and I think a lot of that stemmed from just really effective management of the squad, of the wage bill and things like that. It's allowed Liverpool to do that. But identifying the impact of the guy in charge, it's so hard. And I think an example of that is just what I said to you earlier. This season, Jurgen Klopp's in charge of Liverpool, top of the league, but still competing in all 4 competitions, doing really, really well. Last season, Jurgen Klopp was in charge of Liverpool.
Yeah.
And we end up having a bit of a nightmare campaign, and the same applies to De Zerbi, who we'll touch on, next week. But it's identifying how good a coach is really hard, and it conflicts with the age-old perspective in England especially, but also in Liverpool, of, the manager's the god, the manager's, the all-seeing, figure. I think the actual take on it from a data perspective is, for the most part, you're as good as your players, whereas the coach's impact is kind of a little bit downplayed by like data scientists and stuff. Whether that's true or not, can be debated, but that's what makes it tough.
One of the things that I always do, I've just done a little quick one here, one of the things that I always do when I'm looking at a side, and this is, again, literally me making stuff up, so by all means, if you're watching this, say this fella's just making stuff up, and I'll roll with the punches. One of the things that I always have a look at is how many shots a side creates that are better than 0.25 expected goals. Like, you can do a bit of a, I've always thought it's quite a telling exercise, and you imagine that in a sort of a budgetary situation. What are the quality of my players? What are the quality of the footballers that I've got at my disposal? How are they pulling that together? I've got Brighton's here, and just to sort of make the point on Brighton, we'll do De Zerbi next week in general, but for instance, Brighton over a period from about the 8th of October last season through until the end of the season, they create 51 shots of that level.
YouTube press the button, become a member of the Anfield Wrap from the heart of the city of Liverpool. The best way to enjoy all your Liverpool-based videos, everything you need, every single day. It is the Anfield Wrap.